welcome to another awesome Monday. This is Richard Carlton here. I'm the creator of fmtraining.tv, where every day at 1 o'clock, I or one of the loyal minions in our organization at FM Training is busily creating and putting together FileMaker training, and frequently have lots of third-party guest speakers, and today is no different. We have a very exciting, action-packed deal coming up for you today. So totally different topic, pretty interesting. Just so you know, I spent the weekend using MonkeyBread, pretty exciting. I actually was using some of the new features we demoed here and doing things with FileMaker that you just can't do any other way without using MonkeyBread. So today is another MonkeyBread kind of conversation. Very exciting. I want to welcome all the people who are, you know, if you're new here, welcome as well. Please, it's FileMaker community. We're always here trying to help each other learn something new, do great things together. It's very, very, very exciting. What is FM Training TV? What are we doing here? Why the hell should you care? So I'm going to press a button right here, pop this up. Welcome to fmtrain.tv. You come over here, you go down to the live training tab right here. This shows you the upcoming broadcast schedule. This is data coming out of a live FileMaker database through the data API with FileMaker. It's pretty exciting. So today and tomorrow, we got some MonkeyBread webhook action going on. And then Wednesday, Nick Hunter is back. Nick Hunter is actually in the process, I think, of flying back to the United States in a couple weeks. Friday, apparently, is open Q&A with myself and Calvin Moserman. And then Monday, some more MonkeyBread action going on. So very exciting. All right, cool. Reminder, if you want to support the channel, we highly recommend you purchase one of our complete training bundles, right? So these are right here. So if you go to, we have a lot of free stuff. Most of our content's free, but there's some essential training you need in the bundle here. We highly recommend you buy that. That way, I don't have to beg and plead for some sort of Patreon supporter. We don't do that. The training bundles are there, so let's get the show on the road. So today is MonkeyBread with Christian Schmidt. Let me see if I can bring, oh, there he is right there. There's a lot of monkey action there. So Christian Schmidt, I asked Christian to tell us today, not make it a surprise, explain to us, what are we doing today and why should we care?
Okay, so recently we talked about the webhook functions in the MBS plugin. And then Richard asked for someone to have a button.
To
have a button to click and do something in FileMaker. So we got these buttons here from Flic. And basically, it's just an example I found. So, and we want to have this button programmed to contact FileMaker and run a script when we press the button.
Oh, okay.
That's
So for a second there, when you said contact FileMaker, I mean, like, you're going to call Brad Freitag at FileMaker and then say, hey, I'm complaining, a button that auto complains. Is that what that is?
No. So you can have a button, and you can program this button with an URL, which then triggers the webhook in the MBS plugin, and the plugin starts the script. And the button can do whatever you like. So you can trigger your script can do something, and you can even pass parameters from the button so you know which button pressed.
All right, cool. All right, so it's reminds me of, didn't they have the little buttons didn't Amazon have those? You could push it and it could reorder, like,
yeah. Amazon had standalone buttons,
okay,
which had their own Wi-Fi connection and a little battery. And so they could make a request over your Wi-Fi to the Amazon server. But what we do today is we use these little buttons, and they use Bluetooth to talk to a little base station. And that's this little guy here. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
All right.
And that's the hub, which will then connect to the local network and do the actual transfer. And you can use other buttons which can do Wi-Fi direct, but I just got a pack of those which do Bluetooth.
All right, cool. All right, so what's next? So the idea is that we are going to press a button and activate something in FileMaker, and then
Yeah. So let me share my screen here.
Okay.
So on my screen, you should now see my desktop, and there is a mirror of my iPhone.
Okay.
And that's the Flic app. So this button comes with an app to program it, because how else would you get your URL in the button?
Right.
And actually, some people got the Amazon's buttons hacked. So they got the button from Amazon, and then they changed the URL in the button. But that's a little bit complicated. So I can open the hub here, and I already put in my hub here. So this hub is connected with Ethernet to my local network, so it can reach the Mac.
Okay.
And I have two buttons here. Let me just take one here. Oh. Yeah, I have to touch on the iPhone. So you can name your button as you like here, and you can add actions. And if you like to use this as a doorbell, there is actually the possibility to just have it play a sound when you click it. So you can do all kinds of actions here. Like I can just press a plus tab here, and you can pick a lot of actions. So like you can have it push.
I could go to IKEA and have it order me the Swedish meatballs for lunch. That would be great.
Oh. Yeah, well, this is for lights. So
lights. Okay.
Yeah, I know. So
you're gonna have to translate because I don't speak whatever this is.
I'm sorry. This application is localized, and but some text may show.
Margaret, is that you?
I got it to work. I didn't realize if I selected it would make a very
did you hear the car horn? So for those of you wondering about the shenanigans, okay, so stop for a second. Let me explain the shenanigans here. So Christian had us buy the little booger flicker kit, whatever we call it, Flic, like Flic, and I'm like, but they're like 30 minutes ago they go, Richard, you got to put all this together and you got to make it work in 30 minutes on a live stream, and I'm like, no, I'm not. That's not my job. Right? I'm just trying to organize this. So Margaret, here it is, go play with it. So then I'm in here and I hear this car horn around the corner going off. So she has the flicky thing going too, right? So we're going to play with it. And also it's because it's a 2-day event. Today is day 1, there's day 2. So yeah, so link to Flic. Okay, so Monkey wants a link to the Flicky Flic. Right?
I'll get you the website. I will tell you from personal trial and error, the Mac app does not have the stuff required to make everything work. It has to be iPhone. There is a Mac app, but it won't acknowledge a hub's existence if you have a hub. You can connect buttons directly to the Mac app. The hub won't pop up for some reason. Maybe I'm missing something, but the hub popped up really cleanly on the iPhone app and did not show up at all on the Mac app.
So back up. So this little app right here is an app on your phone. It is connected through the network to the little white box, to Bluetooth to the little white box is what it is, right? And the little white box is connected to the little buttons that we can push with our finger, right? Little buttons, right?
Yeah.
And then so we program the buttons to do like call Monkey or do something, or disconnect Monkey or whatever, right? And then, okay, got it. Okay, cool.
So as a normal developer, you could just define a button, put it on your desk and have it maybe post something on Slack and post everything, lunch is ready, pizza's at the doorbell, whatever, or to play a sound. So you can just assign actions as you like. So what we want to do, we want a HTTP request. So in the app, I can say internet request, and there I can put in the URL. So I did that already for the other button. So let's go back. So here you see I got a button, and if you click the button, I put in the IP of my Mac.
Yeah, so you could put a curl request in here, right? A curl request, yeah.
Yeah, it may use curl. I don't know.
Well, anytime that you start talking about get, post, put, I start thinking that you probably have the full curl thing here. But whatever, yeah, that's fine. Cool. All right.
So that's a HTTP request. And you can put in a URL, and this is the IP of my Mac in the local network. But technically, you could also put a domain name here if you have a server running somewhere. You can then put here the port number. So this may also run on your FileMaker server in the cloud. You could trigger something there if you like. So we add here in the URL, you can of course encode any parameters you like. For example, here I put in a parameter button with the number of the button and the action, in this case click, but you could define whatever you like. You can also put it in the headers, if you like. So you can define this, whatever you need. This could also trigger a PHP script on your web server and publish a blog article.
Ah. Yeah, you just need a robot that automatically creates the content for you, makes up some stuff, and then posts it, right? Perfect. It's called a content mill.
Like if you would have a website redesign and you want to have a button which you click to switch over the website to the new one. So I put in the URL here, and then I got here my Webhook database. This is the example database coming with a plugin. And yeah, FileMaker decides, so let me clean up.
Oh, that's right. We had that whole webhook conversation, right? I'm gonna have to go back and revisit this that live stream we did on this. That was a good live stream.
Yeah. So here I define again the port number for the webhook to listen on. So I can click Start, and now the webhook is active. And if the firewall is open, I can just click on the button, and there is my request coming in. So the plugin accepted the connection. Or let's first go. The button connected via Bluetooth to this little hub. It sent a signal, say here, action, click, I was clicked. Then the hub triggers the URL, and the plugin accepts the URL request, and then shows you here the path. So it's a GET request. We got those parameters on the end. We got the IP of the hub here, port numbers. We got here the raw request. And as you see, and here it's a little bit nicer parsed. So you see the button has a name, it has a battery level, it has a serial number. There is some Google HTTP Java stuff running on this little box. Yeah, and that's it. The script got triggered, the script created the record. And it's up to you to do whatever you like. And I can also use the other action here. So I also made a double click action with one little difference here, that it has here the double as text. So I can do a double click, and now you see it shows double here. Okay, so we have the button working.
Sorry, I was muted. I was trying to talk and I have a question. So someone was asking, what's under the post over here? If you look at this, what options? Is there anything different there? Or
so I can post, and then I can have a content type and some body. So the body is specific for the post because you want to send a lot of data with the request. Like if you have one of the data API calls from FileMaker, or if you want to trigger a PHP script, you may want to pass in some JSON as payload, and so you could actually put here some JSON. This curly breaks.
You know, it's kind of a funny thing. So then David Angel was asking if it is Z-Wave like compatible, which is like he says a home protocol for home automation, Z-Wave. So I don't have a very automated home, mostly because my very manually intensive home. But yeah, so.
Well, you can add this to HomeKit here on the iPhone.
Is HomeKit use Z-Wave? I'm just going to ask this question for people who know, since I'm learning now here too. So, David Angel, does HomeKit, the Apple's product, use Z-Wave? Is that open protocol? Yeah, you know the question. You know, it's a funny thought about this thing, and I will just simply state this a little bit up front, and that is the idea that we have this level of automation that's coming out, and there's a couple things with automation that are tricky about it. One is that people are always updating their operating systems. If you stay up to date with Apple, it takes more money, but you keep your hardware up to date, you keep your operating systems up to date. And then you have problems like right now where you can't update the Mac because it breaks Dropbox, right? So every time you update your computer, So there's this like two sides. There's like more automation, but then when you, and I'm not really worried about the hardware getting old and breaking. I mean, things that break mostly are wires break if they ever, and power supplies get old and quit working. You can replace those and fix those. But like, imagine this was all working and it unlocked your house and did all this stuff, but then you update the operating system or whatever, and it breaks this. See, that's what makes me nervous about it. So, um, but the world's going this way, right? All the automation, right? Moki's asking if this is Mac only. I'm sure it's Windows too, though. Yeah, right? No, Christian Schmidt.
Yeah, but I would have to look up myself.
Okay.
And I want to state again, the Flic stuff is just an example for a button which we can use. So
yeah,
the functionality in the plugin will work with hundreds of buttons.
Yeah.
So you probably can go to your local tech shop and just buy whatever they have from Asia.
But then you program it to make a webhook call, and your plugin receives it, right? So
we just looked for the example because, well, when we showed the webhook stuff, Richard asked about the doorbell, and so I got this little button as an example. I mean, if you find someone else which uses a different protocol, that's fine. But as long as we get the HTTP request on the end.
So Margaret, this is interesting, very, very interesting. It's continued physical integration with computer systems without a keyboard and a mouse or a touchscreen, right? We're integrating with other types of input. In this case, a very single button, right? Ruben says you push the button when your boss walks by, and your game will be minimized in silence, and Excel will open. Yeah, that's that old joke, right? Yeah, from literally 30
a lot
years
of people had hotkeys for that. Pressing the key combinations to switch between apps quickly.
Yeah.
So if you like, we can look again at the script, how this is set up.
The script on your side, right, to make your thing work, the webhook. Yeah, we should definitely cover that because walk through it because I remember seeing it. But by the way, if people playing with this, how reliable is your? I mean, your plugin's pretty great, but when we demoed this last time, it was a little bit skittish. Is your plugin?
Yeah, the first thing is you have to make sure the firewall is allowing the request to come in.
Okay.
So you have to open this port in your firewall or whatever port you pick.
Okay.
And you have for the Mac, if you use the local firewall, you have to specify that FileMaker is allowed to take incoming connections because the plugin is running within FileMaker. But once you have the firewall open for this port for the app, the request should come through. And I usually test it just with terminal. Like here, I can just say curl vhttp localhost 999 and test, and just run a little test request. And if this works on a computer, then the plugin is working.
Okay.
But if you use this from a different computer and go with the port number, so if I go on the other computer and would run this with my port number, there's 2, and if this times out on the other computer, then the firewall would still be closed.
Okay, so yeah, so you have to have a functional static address. So let me ask a question here. So most people don't put Mac copies of FileMaker Pro with a static address on the internet. I guess you would put this on FileMaker server. Does this hook thing work on?
Yeah, this can run on FileMaker server, yeah.
So then FileMaker server you would specify,
Well, whatever domain name your server has, like.
So back up. So I have a question. So do we want to, for tomorrow, try to get this working with your live stream server on Amazon? Do we want to try that? I don't even know if Jacob's available though. Try that.
Yeah, I would test it before.
You test it before we promise, right?
And ask Jacob to make sure in Amazon to open the firewall
on
a specific port.
Okay. And then you have
so
access
here
to
I
this.
just put in my local DNS name.
Yeah.
So this works too.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. So we could all try it, right? It'd be kind of great to be able to do that, right? So I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know what you do. I mean, playing the sound would be fine, but then everyone would just press the button endlessly. How about Stream Deck? So in you, Ikeban, in you, Ikeban, it's an interesting call sign on YouTube asking about Stream Deck. So I use the Stream Deck. It's the similar sort of kind of concept where, um, so what's the question about Stream Deck? Which part of this? Because we got really kind of two demos here. We got this Flic, which is this hardware layer over here. That's really totally separate than the MonkeyBread plugin, which is actually listening for inbound connections. This is kind of one of those things in FileMaker that FileMaker Pro doesn't do at all, very well or at all, which is where FileMaker Pro does not, and I'm going to put the equal sign, does not listen for incoming connections. But with this plugin, it can do that, which is kind of great, right? So, but in order for us, once the plugin receives the message, the question is, what do you do on FileMaker, right? What could you do? Well, Stream Deck, for those of you wondering about this, I'm going to show this real quick here. It's another piece of hardware. So this is, without me being too much of a, can I bring it up a little higher here? So this is my Stream Deck. Little buttons here allows me to control, like when I run the opening music or the show or the closing music of the show, or I want to show the upcoming, like broadcast schedule. I push a button right here. I'm going to press a button, boop, and it brings up this web page. So I'm pretty sure you could probably call a HTTP request with Stream Deck and call the MonkeyBread plugin, which would be really interesting. I think that would be really great. Once again, it's not so much we have this whole layer of the command and control, but what do you control? Like what's useful to control, right? Unlock a door, lock a door, HomeKit allows you to turn on the lights or control the heating or cooling in your apartment or your house, etc. Right? But what do you do, right? If you're on live stream TV, then you have buttons like a broadcast studio where you press buttons and things happen here, right? But I'm actually sitting here and I posted this. I'm drawing a blank on all the cool things you could do, right? Because do you really want a button on your refrigerator that reorders milk or bread for you when you run low, right? I mean, maybe in 20 or 30 years that'll be a standard thing that all the refrigerators just are smart and they do that. But to wire that up and get that going, just to reorder milk. I mean, if you have a consumable, if you have a consumable that you use in your business, say like if you're in aviation and you consume jet fuel, for example, aircraft fuel, and it gets to a certain level and it automatically reorders a tanker truck, 5,000 gallons of fuel to come back out. It would make sense for some level of automation for that, but you have to come up with a compelling business need for this is kind of what I'm trying to do, right? So Stream Deck could probably launch an Apple script to make FileMaker do something, button closer.
So,
yeah, go ahead, Christian Schmidt.
So I just Googled for it and you find an tutorial on how to create a Steam Deck plugin to interact with Webhook. So you basically define your own plugin, which contains description of what to do, and then includes, of course, the URL for the webhook, and there's a little bit JavaScript to actually run the request then. And so you would then, once you have installed that plugin, you would assign it to a button. And then it should just work.
Yeah, should just work. Yeah. So
but there may be a newer version of the deck of the software for your deck to maybe do it without the plugin, because this tutorial is 2 years old and maybe someone built it in already.
Yeah. I mean, they're always updating the Stream Deck. I get updates all the time because when you get the Stream Deck and it goes into USB on your Mac or Windows computer, then you run an installer. And so like on my computer, here's my Stream Deck control up here. So I set configure Stream Deck. And these are the buttons that I have, right? So that shows me, that's the little part you see me, and then these are various buttons that I have configured. Like this button up here, I haven't tested lately, but it's where we talk about the different levels of FileMaker developers, and so I'm waving my hands and I want to articulate that. I press the button and up it comes, right? See how that works? So The idea is that you can automate things and not be hunting for them. It helps in terms of your conversation. It's basically broadcast TV kind of stuff. What makes sense here, but broadcast TV and live streaming is kind of an anomaly. It's kind of an outlier. It's not really a standard business use case. So what would be standard things that you would do with this, folks? I'm asking the question. I think that here's the thing. I'm going to very much push to get the his product plugged into his live stream FileMaker server to get this installed so we can activate webhooks on the FileMaker server. The question is, what would you do with it then? You could have it add records, send data to it, do something like that, but what would you do, right? Print a bathroom ticket. I'm afraid to ask what a bathroom ticket is. Is that like someone takes a big dump and they don't clean up, and you have to
that
you pull them
Amazon
over, write them a
sold you-
ticket? I mean, David?
Like Richard, you remember Amazon sold you dash buttons, which you would put on your restroom to click a button to have the postman deliver new toilet paper next day.
Okay, I thought Monkey's talking about someone getting a citation from the police for bad bathroom behavior, right? So, yeah, coffee shop customers, they could. Oh, I see. So they could press the button and then use the ticket to get in the bathroom. Yeah, okay. I'm trying to think of because for me it's like unlocking a door, locking the door, right? But what else?
Yeah,
right?
but think about some people may actually need a button sometimes on their work because they may be touching things and don't want to go with the dirty fingers on the keyboard. So they may prefer a button.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. So that way you just Lysol wipe the down the button, right? So there you go. Moki's thinking printing in general. Yeah. Warehouse. Yeah. Warehouse idea. There's a good one. Pushing buttons, out comes something. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you put a package on the scale, you press a button, and FileMaker will ask the scale for the weight.
Yep. Yep. There's a good warehouse one there. I like that one.
If you have to daily send a report to someone, you just click it and it assembles and then emails it off or something.
You absolutely could do that. If you had a warehouse and you had a whole bunch of people that you didn't, different levels of employees, right? So like all my kids at one point or another worked for Amazon in a warehouse. It's like their first entry level job. Alex did the Army and then did that and then did the Army. I can't remember what the order was. Margaret's worked for Amazon. My daughter, Sarah, still works for Amazon. And so they have a lot of employees there that they don't necessarily need them touching a keyboard, but having them press a button is allowing them to interact with the technology without giving them a full keyboard. That could be useful. Could be open the residential door in the building from the iPad after introducing visit information. Yeah. So there's more access control, 3 buttons, previous, next, and select. And you could control with your feet. Oh, so push buttons on the floor. Yeah, a lot of people actually, even on live stream, they're starting to do that with the Stream Deck. I think has a floor control that allows you to push a button on the floor because your hands are so busy. You can manage some of the controls in your live stream with the floor.
So, anyone wants to see the script?
I do. I want to see the script.
Okay, let's go.
Walk us through it in slow detail. I want excruciatingly detailed detail. So is this like the initial configure script or that's this one?
This is the setup script, which is triggered by the start button here. Let me see.
Okay.
So this is the setup script.
Okay, got it. Yep.
This is the cleanup script. Okay.
Okay.
So usually you would run this when the solution opens. So we have a little bit of cleanup here in the first line. So if it's already running, it will be closing it. Then it will make a new webhook. And once the webhook is created, you want to set a few options. We have here SSL, but we don't use it for the demo. And once you have configured it, let me look for the options. So on the documentation, we have a few options you can set. Here, webhook. So you can set it to automatically answer. your request with an OK message, which we usually use, so the script doesn't need to send the answer. We can define a maximum size for a request we accept, and this is meant to avoid someone sending a lot of messages, a lot of big messages to your server. And then there's also timeout, so you can make sure that connections get closed after some minutes, some time. So nobody keeps all the connections open to your server and your server doesn't respond anymore.
Yeah, like a denial of service attack or something, right? So.
And then we can set the mode for switching between running normally, about keeping the connection open, so your script can assemble the answer and send it, so you can send out custom answers for every request, or just you have it auto answer with a standard answer.
So let me back up a second. Let's talk about a connection. So let's talk about the definition of a connection. What is a connection? A single. Let's say that Monkey is going to press a button tomorrow. Say we set it up. He's going to press a button tomorrow, and he's going to send a single URL to your plugin on the livestream server. Is that considered one connection?
Yeah, each button press would be its own connection. So it connects, it sends a request, it gets an answer, and then the connection is terminated.
Okay, who terminates the connection? So this is that part. Go back to with the timeout, kind of that. Remember the conversation just now about the timeout? So
we have a timeout, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so can we read this? Timeout is 8 seconds. Default is 5 minutes. So sets a default, for example, you need to receive phone system. So the reality, though, as a general rule, is that we would expect a connection under most situations to be a couple seconds, right? Like zip, zip, done, right? Wouldn't you have a
connection? Usually the thing is you get the connection in, you send the answer out, your script triggers, maybe it does something with the connection, or usually it doesn't do. And for most calls, like here, our buttons, the whole thing is done in less than a second.
So but it doesn't automatically close. What causes it to close besides this command here? What causes it to close?
That's with the mode, we have a few options. So sometimes I want to keep the connection open. So you can have it with the auto answer. So you get the connection, the plugin answers the request, and then triggers the script. And when the script is running, the connection is already closed. When we keep the connection open, the script is triggered and can still decide what it does and then send an answer.
And then,
so the connection stays open for a few more seconds.
So then the script could actually initiate the is there a close command specifically you can run?
Yeah, you release it here.
Okay.
So in this example, the script is triggered and we send a custom answer here, which could be different for every request. And then on the end, we say release, and then the request is closed.
Okay.
And removed from memory.
So the problem is that we don't want a bunch of open, connection is a lot like an open user on WebDirect or something, right? So you have 10 slots on WebDirect that are open. People come in, they leave WebDirect, the connection is still open for 15 or 20 minutes or something. Yeah. So it's blocking that little slot, right? So how many web connections can we have at one time before it blows up or runs out of memory?
I didn't make it a parameter here. I would have to look up in the source code to see if it's maybe 5 or 10 or... No, that is just the queue. So there is no limit on the number of connections, but there is a limit on the queue for waiting connection to be processed. That's a different thing.
So the idea, because in my mind, so the connection doesn't exist until the person initiates the request.
A request is coming in on the network stack.
Yep.
It reaches the application, and there's a queue for incoming connections. And then when the plugin checks regularly every few milliseconds for new incoming connections on this queue. And when a connection, when the plugin sees there's a waiting request, That's a TCP/IP connection request. It accepts the connection, and then we have this TCP/IP stream. And once we accepted it, the other side will start sending data.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So there is a small waiting queue with a few entries for this incoming connection. So if someone would send 1,000 connection requests within a millisecond, most of them would get blocked automatically because our queue is too short.
Okay.
But technically, we can easily handle maybe 100 requests per second. It's not a big problem as long as the plugin has time to process them.
Yeah. So the operating system gets the initial request. It holds it until the plugin checks in with it. The plugin then pulls that out of the queue and processes it.
So then we have.
Go ahead.
So we have the TCP connection, and then we wait for incoming data. We just wait there because the HTTP request has to come in. It may take a millisecond. It may take 2 seconds. It depends on what's on the other side. Like if someone has an old modem connection, it may actually take 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds to actually send the HTTP request.
Yeah, so David Angel, okay, so there's 2 questions here. One, David Angel wants to go back and talk about terminology. I think that's a great idea. Moki asks if we can ask OT MBS questions. I'm not sure what OT is. Christian, you want to look?
Off topic. Yeah.
Off topic. Yeah. Oh, off topic. Yeah. If you want to throw it in here, that's fine.
So
why don't we? Go ahead.
Yeah. You can have, let's say, if you have a lodge somewhere in the mountains, and you have a little camera there taking pictures of birds. You could have a little computer there which sends a HTTP request to your FileMaker machine, to our webhook, which includes in the request the picture it just made. So it could make a post request and include the data for the picture file. And then the request is a little bit bigger, maybe a few megabytes, and it may take a few seconds. But once the plugin sees there's a HTTP request and it's completely uploaded, then we will start our processing by parsing it. And there's a little, there are a couple of things the plugin checks, so size must match, and then we would do the action like triggering the script.
Okay. So let's go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, we have some, terms of terminology, so let's start at the beginning. So when your plugin, I'm going to use the word listening. Is that a correct term? So we're listening.
Yeah.
So when the plugin is ready to receive someone's going to communicate with it. Someone's going to send a URL, which will be this URL REST API kind of idea. So what's the terminology? So it's listening. Is that a term? It's So what are you right?
Listen on port 999.
Okay, so that's listening. Okay, that's not a connection.
Incoming TCP/IP connections.
Okay, and then those are captured.
There's a queue.
They're captured. The connections
pending.
are pending, which is the operating system.
Incoming connections.
Incoming connections.
The plugin accepts a connection.
Okay.
And this sounds.
So at this point right here, David, the connection is open now. It wasn't open before this. Now the connection is open, right? It accepts the connection, right?
Open TCP/IP connection. Data is collected as it is received. And data is passed to HTTP request. So we have to get all the little things in the HTTP request into our fields.
Okay.
And then plugin sends auto answer if you like.
Okay.
So we could just acknowledge that we got the request, send out an OK message, we got it, and then we trigger the script. And if FileMaker is busy, the script triggering may take a second or two, because if there is already a script running or there's maybe a dialog showing up, the script will have to wait.
Okay.
Trigger script.
So this is the operating. Can you make a note right here? This is the OS, right? This is an operating system here, right? Okay. The plugin connects the connection. The data is parsed, is received, data parsed. So this is where this is where it sends it into FileMaker?
Yeah, we trigger the script. That's in FileMaker.
Okay. Okay.
So, and the script can then process the incoming data, maybe create a new record or send an email, whatever.
Are you passing a single script parameter? Is that what you do? It's a script parameter?
Yeah, the script parameter is just the ID of the request.
Okay. Is the ID of the request. Okay.
Parameter is of request.
Okay.
So you get just a number.
Okay, so then we have to go back and then use that request to get the rest of the data. So FileMaker, the script has to interrogate. The script has to interrogate the plugin to get the data out. Correct? Is that what we're saying?
So you see here we have all these little get methods.
Yep.
To actually ask. So what is the local port? What is the remote port? What's the remote IP? Where it's coming from? What are the headers for the HTTP request? What is the size of the body? And if it sends your picture from the bird in your lodge in the mountain, you would get that as a picture here.
Okay.
Well, the first thing is FileMaker Pro does not accept HTTP post or GET requests built in.
Directly, yeah.
The FileMaker server does some things with offering a data API.
Right.
But the data API always requires you to log in.
Yes.
And then do something.
Yes. So once again, this is giving us the ability to have like a public facing service. Once again, someone could try to overload it and, denial of service attack, but fundamentally this is a capability that really FileMaker server generally doesn't already have. So we have questions here. If you want to start just chewing through the questions, well, we got Moki's got an off-topic question. If you want to handle that one real quick, and then we'll come back. He's asking how to change the colors of the fields in the script workspace with your plugin.
So so a lot of people ask about this connection queue. So the queue, I would have to look up in the source code. Maybe it's just 5 or 10. I don't know. It's how many connections can be in the queue, and as we process them, several incoming connections per second, this should normally not be a problem, but it may avoid trouble if you get something like 1,000 requests in a milliseconds, because then most are simply linear. The connection can take a lot of bytes. I actually put in the maximum request size, because people asked it that they didn't want their server to be, or the computer to be overloaded. So it could take gigabytes of data.
Oof, okay.
But you may not want that.
Yeah, we did have a previous video where we kind of talked about webhooks before.
And if you run this in FileMaker Pro, you basically make FileMaker Pro a little server.
Yes.
And this may, if you have a FileMaker server that's sitting, you could already put in a PHP script there and have it do something.
So for Stu, the MBS plugin Webhooks allows inbound connections to FileMaker Pro or FileMaker Server without logging in. Technically correct. Yes. But it's up to you to decide what you're going to send back from that request. It could be like Stu's military. So if I say transmitting in the blind, you understand what that means. It's a one-way transmission where no response is necessary. A lot of these would operate that way, okay? But you might wait to get a response back, in which case that was that part where he picked the response We said it was optional over here. Where was it? So, plugin sends auto answer. This is the response back, which is optional. Otherwise, you can send it just in the blind, right? Cool.
So you could have a script which looks in the parameters of the URL, for example, for record ID, then goes to find that record, look on the record what information is there, assemble an answer, and send it out. So you can have custom answers if you like.
Sure. Let's see. So yeah, there's a lot of questions here. Does it Monkey asks, the webhooks work will allow FileMaker to work with Zapier? Yeah, I mean Zapier is an API and you can access it with a script. This thing sends data to FileMaker and activates a script based upon the connection that comes in. So yeah, absolutely you can connect with it, right? So yeah.
So as said, in your local network you may have things which talk to you. A common thing is a phone system, where you would have a computer, and each computer, and you have maybe a little table, and you know which IP is for which of your computers and which phone is next to the computer. So you know if phone number 5 is ringing, you should send the phone system sends a webhook to the computer next to it, and then in FileMaker Pro you may have your webhook listening, and it may show you the record of the person calling.
Yeah, that's pretty common with call centers or with customer service. Yeah, so someone calls and then FileMaker, based upon data, can do a quick search and help find that person as you're answering the phone. So if I say, yeah, hey, Moki, what's up? And Moki's information is already on my screen in my CRM, that's pretty awesome.
So it may also be that you have some kind of scanner, like you may have a barcode scanner sending a webhook, you may have a fingerprint scanner, or you may have a flatbed scanner, where you put on a document and then it automatically sends a request. So you may have those network connected devices, and then you can receive the webhook with a plugin.
So the one person, there's kind of a little bit of a conversation going on YouTube. And so I'm going to copy paste here. So this was the person who was initially asking about Stream Deck. And there's this conversation. So I took your conversation Ichaban, was asking about Stream Deck, but then he says hotkeys in FileMaker, right? So database, there's so many fields to select. You have to rely on the mouse rather than keys. Yeah.
So in the MBS plugin has also hotkey functions. So you could define a key combination to have the plugin trigger a script, which then goes to a specific layout or field. So let's take a look on the script again.
Yeah, go dial into script because people have a lot of questions. But so the idea of the connection is a live conversation, right? That was for David Angel. It's listening. Then there's a connection, a live conversation, and then as soon as that conversation is over, you want to close the connection. You don't want to leave it open for 5 minutes, in my opinion.
Again, the plugin allows you to create a little web server to receive those webhook requests within the plugin. So FileMaker must be running, must have the plugin loaded. The plugin must be told to start a webhook. Like all of the features in the MBS plugin, there is not a lot of features which are working automatically. Besides maybe here some syntax highlighting. So you have to tell the plugin to start the webhook. And by the way, this whole thing can also run on iOS in your iOS SDK-based app with FileMaker. So we
say that again real quick, sorry.
If you make an iOS app with the FileMaker iOS SDK, you can embed the plugin and you can run the whole thing on your iOS device.
Which is exceptionally cool.
Yeah, so you could have your button, which then triggers a script on your iPhone.
With an app, that would be really fun, actually.
Yeah, that's so. If you have a Richard Carlton Consulting custom FileMaker Go app branded with your own name and icon, and you can have the plugin embedded in it, and then you can, you should have asked Honza to make it for you.
The combination of all the technology. Yes.
Next thing, we set here the webhook script, Then we tell it which file the script is to trigger and the name of the script. And be sure to check your security because there's no text. So there is an FM plugin extended privilege set, which allows the plugin to trigger scripts. So if you have this privilege set in your solution, you must have the checkbox there. Otherwise, you wouldn't get the plugin to trigger a script. And then in the script, we just get the script parameter, and then we call all these little get functions here to get details about the request, and then you could decide what to do. And on the end, we do the release to clean up.
So tomorrow, Margaret, are we going to try to get yours going and have you do something with it so we can walk through it a little bit, your setup?
Yes. Well, I mean, I got the sound, so we can actually hear it click now.
Yeah, but we want to see if we can get it working so people can. We'll see if we can get it to work on the FileMaker server with Jacob Taylor. I don't know. I wonder if I can call Jacob and I'll ask him about that. He was a little grumpy this morning. I'll see if I can get a hold of Jacob and see if we can get this installed. That would be really great.
Okay, so we may get it tomorrow working on Margaret's computer and on the server.
Yep.
Shouldn't be too difficult.
Cool.
Then, so we have the normal setup here. There's also here the setup is keep open. So we tell the plugin to do no auto answer and keep the connection open. And then when we receive the request, we assemble here a little HTTP response. And I can just test this. Let's just here stop it and then start it here and go back to the terminal and just make another request here, test 4. And you see here is my custom answer, which says this tested. So this is the tested, which is coming here from the script. And let's just here show live stream. So this is live. Just change the message and trigger it again. And now you see there's live stream. So we can check what's in the request and make a custom answer. If you run this on server, there are a little bit things, a few things to know. The first thing is here, the plugin can't really trigger scripts on the server. So you have to schedule a script or run it with PSOS. So the script has to run. It has to regularly ask the plugin with a check function what's going on. And the check function will give you the list of the requests you got. And then you can do this little loop here to trigger your script yourself, whatever script needs to handle. And then the server script can do whatever it likes to do, like go to a layout, create a new request, and ask on the server.
David asked a question if you want to address that in Discord.
Yeah. This is just the whole thing is running in IPv6 here. And if you have an IP4 IP in IPv6 environment, it gets prefixed with the Fs there. So that's just an IP4 address in an IPv6 world. We have that here somewhere there.
That's almost like another conversation we should have someday, is explain that, right? A lot of people don't know.
Yeah. So technically, the plugin will just open the connection, accept anything with IPv4 or IPv6. This is just a prefix to indicate that this is coming from IPv4. You can learn more about IPv6 probably on the internet. And now I want also to point out to the raw mode. So everything we did so far is using HTTP. But the plugin can also work without HTTP.
Okay, so real quick, I need you to repeat the last sentence because your Slack literally dropped and we didn't get 30 seconds of what you were just saying.
I'm sorry. So the plugin can also run in RAW mode instead of HTTP.
And that's exactly, you said that sentence and you disappeared. So what is raw mode and what does that mean?
I have customers with medical devices which send requests. If you do something like you measure someone, like blood pressure or whatever, and it sends a request with the data, but it doesn't send HTTP. So the plugin can accept a raw request and give it to you in the script, and then you can send whatever you like back.
Okay.
And this allows those customers to do the thing with the medical devices where they measure something with the patient, and then the request ends up in FileMaker. And as you see here, Carl sends a GET request. We receive the GET request, but we don't assume it's HTTP, so we don't parse it. And then we send an answer. In this case, we just send out the text "Hello World." And then Kirk complains that this is not HTTP 1. So if you have the need to run the webhook thing with something else which doesn't do HTTP, the plugin still can help you.
Yes, Stu says the raw mode could be very useful in some circumstances. Absolutely. So, whoop, we just lost him again, looks like. So, yeah, suddenly we're having challenging issues there. So, real quick. So, Margaret, you're still there, correct? Yes?
Yep.
So, we're basically at the end of the hour at this point. We're going to pick the conversation up tomorrow, and hopefully he will return to us.
Yes, I'm back.
You're back again. Okay, so we're having a little bit of challenge, but we're at the end of the broadcast. That's fine. So as a reminder for the upcoming broadcast schedule, I'm going to press I pressed my button here, which was a request, not out using your tool, but that kind of push button things happen. Tomorrow's broadcast is going to be a pickup of today. If we can get the plugin installed on our server so we can play with that a little bit, that would be a fun example because it allows your server to do data API requests, but also these other requests, which I think are a little bit more fluid and less rigid. Because a lot of the stuff that, remember, Claris does stuff, but Claris is kind of part of Apple. I say that loosely because they are part of Apple, but they're also not part of Apple, depending upon the situation. And when it comes to security and structuring internet requests, things like that with technology, they are Apple. Apple has what they call InfoSec. It's their informations and securities group down there, which is, I think, I don't know if it's part of IT or parallel to IT, but they're basically the guys and gals that run around doing hacker prevention, fighting off denial of service attacks, all that kind of deep end white hat, black hat kind of stuff. So that's why this tool here doesn't have to go through the Apple security process, right? It's also another reason why they don't allow plugins on FileMaker Cloud. FileMaker Cloud doesn't allow plugins because it kind of limits the control for things like that. And it's a pain in the ass, and Claris doesn't want to give people that kind of flexibility. That's why for most end users, you're going to end up using FileMaker Server, not FileMaker Cloud. So,
well, we have some users who are very secure sensitive. And we have a plugin function to limit what the plugin can do. So when you have built your solution, we have this little function, set functions, where you pass in the function list of which functions are allowed. So you take the list of 7,000 or 6,000 functions, and you only pick the 100 functions you need. And then you tell the plugin to only accept this calls, and then everything else is disabled.
That's nice. So it's a whitelist, right? You're giving it a whitelist.
Yeah, it's a whitelisting of functions in the plugin, like here, version, functions, everything with curl, everything with plugin, everything else is gone.
All right, so as a reminder, this plugin is badass. I used it this weekend quite a bit. I used it last weekend too, solving various problems that I couldn't solve any other way with the FileMaker platform. For those of you wondering, I don't make any money on this, but I do recommend you purchase the product and support this. Christian Schmidt kicks ass and does a great job here with us. So I don't know how much it is. How do they buy this if they want to get it, or how does that work?
Just $150, but usually people just try with a trial key here.
Okay.
So get a free license to play with it.
Okay. Yeah, well, all I know is that we started using it to build thumbnails, and I use the continuity camera for some warehouse inventory stuff. Yeah, so it's pretty, I mean, it's really awesome. I don't know what to say. So, all right, cool. Well, tomorrow we're going to pick up the conversation a little bit for those of you wondering about that. So that's it for today. Bring your questions about webhooks tomorrow. Ichiban, I don't know if I said that correct. Feel free to come visit us tomorrow again on YouTube. Michelle Gravel. Bring your questions. Bring your questions. We will have more fun with this tomorrow. All right? Anything else, Christian?
No, thank you.
All right, we'll see everyone tomorrow. See you. Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir.